of the publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle, coming out 10/31/23. That's the day. So get ready. It's my young adult fantasy romance, and it's a must buy. But I am here with she's just a ball of sunshine. I mean, she's wearing a dark sweater, but inside her soul is the sun itself. Believe it. Oh no, never mind. She's changed. She put a hood on. She's scary again. She is the troll princess with all her colors, Melanie Schubert. Melanie, how are you?
I'm good. I have to say, the other day I was looking back on an old episode for something, and your intros without fail are glorious. Like,
they're so bad.
No, I don't know how my ego isn't through the roof at this point with all the glorious words you bestow upon me. Our listeners are already going to be drunk because we've said glorious twice this episode and it's only been 2 minutes.
Take your shot, listeners. Unless you're driving, don't do it if you're driving. Okay. But yeah, for our listeners, every time we say glorious, you got to take a shot. So, I just said it again.
Oh my gosh. Unless you're like in AA and then you're exempt.
Yes, please.
No, I'm good. I just thought that.
No pressure. I no pressure at all.
No.
In fact, let's just have a glass of water. I think we could all just hydrate.
Yeah, I'm good. What was I going to say? I don't know. I was going to say I'm just living for our Discord popping off. So listeners, if you haven't joined it yet, we are doing our Discord group for Draft Race. Angela and I racing. I mean, she has a small head start right now, but she's going to need it.
Yes, I'm sorry. Let me just cut Melanie off real quick because this biatch already had about 1 million words. In fact, you know what? I feel like she already finished the book. And then here I come, just try my heart out to catch up. So, I'm just gonna call it like it is. Melanie's been cheating, guys. She's been cheating.
How? I asked this of you. I literally took my sweet time, but you should be afraid now because I've actually, so that 10,000 word chunk that I had, that I was like taking my time and not having any new words added the last week. Well, a few. I added a few as I bulked it up, but I am now to the end of that chunk. And I am about to start free drafting again from this point on. So you better watch us. What are you at now? How many words are you?
I don't even know. I'm going to say, I think I got to like 16 something words.
Oh, damn.
16K. So come in out. But yeah, about our Discord, if you're listening and want to join the fun, even if it's not for Draft Race, but just to come and talk writing or just bullshit about whatever, DM us on Instagram and I will invite you into the Discord. It's the only way I know how to do it.
We're at Pub Persuasion. If you're not following us on Instagram yet, we're at Pub Persuasion.
Yeah, because it's been really fun. It's really fun just chatting with people, and we're all just kind of BSing our way through our drafts. So where are you at right now, word-wise, on your...
Almost 15.
Woo! She's coming in hot. She's coming in.
But some of that is fluff because I tend to write ideas underneath what I'm writing that I want to add in as I go. So some of that, it gets integrated as I go. So technically, I don't know, do we count that? But then I always manage to be where I want anyway, because as I add it in, it adds in. So, I mean, some of it is cheating.
Well, honestly, though, I'll allow it because I think, because, I'm the rule, apparently I'm the rule enforcer. I've coined myself the rule enforcer, and I shall allow it because it all adds up to, I mean, it's all part of the story, and it'll be in there anyway. So
But I'm just so grateful for Draft Race because I honestly like there is some magic behind it that just I feel like it's just like the gentle peer pressure I need to be accountable to like getting
yeah,
words done and not like I don't know, because it's so easy to have those moments, and I'm sure you've had them already, where you just like reach a point and you're like, all right, well, that was great, but like, how do I make what comes next anywhere close to what I just wrote? Do you know what I mean? And then it's just like the dauntingness of all of that can usually like stimmy me for way more weeks, you know?
absolutely.
I don't know, I'm just laughing at stimmy sounded funny.
I mean, it kind of did.
It's a funny word. But yeah, like for some reason, just doing the draft race, having the accountability, having the shit talk, I just don't get frozen for as long as I would because it does. I think it's kind of an inevitable part of writing, like those ups and downs that we talk about. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just enjoying drafting this, enjoying kind of like exploring themes and like voicing stuff aloud that like young Mel was thinking, you know, like some of these deconstruction themes and stuff. Like
Mhm.
it's kind of scary writing about it. Like when you grew up, like I grew up super conservative. And like when you first like verbalize these things, it feels like not just like bad, it feels wrong to
Mm.
verbalize it. But I was already thinking them as a teenager, you know? And it's one of the reasons why I want to write it this way because I don't know how it's gonna all wind up having like this kind of deconstruction undead boyfriend like but I mean if K-drama can mix all those genres together so can I.
Yes, you can. Damn it. Yes, you can.
And I'm also tempted to try mix in a third thing, which is like I grew up super conservative, but there was also the added element of like this like kind of Serbian Croatian warfare vibes, where like even though people were super religious because of the conflicts in those countries, because that's my background, Croatian. And so I grew up in a little Croatian church, but then there was like this little Serbian church, and they kind of just had this like underlying like so I was kind of tempted to make one of the characters Croatian and one Serbian, and they're in love, like Romeo and Juliet almost. And that the kind of like prejudices of the family about them dating. It's a lot of layers. I don't know if I can do it all in one draft, but I saw Romeo and Juliet the other night in the park and I was like,
Oh,
add that from that angle, the
yeah.
whole, yeah, like the underlying prejudice, even though they were super religious, but they were like, some people wouldn't want anything to do with them because of that, because of the conflicts they experienced when they lived over there. So we'll see. It's a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's like an experience that you know and understand. And so like putting that into your story will just feel even more real. And, like your characters will feel more authentic, which I think we all love and enjoy. And um, I'm here for it. I'm here for zombies and deconstruction and prejudices. We have it all. But I think I know you can do it. Like you are a great storyteller. So, and I'm sure it'll have us all sobbing at the end. And so I'm excited about it.
It's gonna make me cry. Thank you. I'll try. I'm giving myself like no pressure to pull off all three things in one
Yeah.
draft. Because once I thought of the whole Romeo and Juliet thing, I loved it so much. But I was like, if I want to do justice to the threads I have right now, I may need to just light weave it right now and possibly add it later. So we'll see. I'm not going to force it either. Sometimes not every idea fits that one book. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe in a later draft, if it's coming through naturally, I'll just like pull at that and try weave it in more. Because I also want it to have its, yeah, you don't want to force too much into one book, but
Right.
I'm just like, you can kind of rest an idea on your brain as you write and it starts to come through.
Yes.
Talking about
Yeah.
sometimes it's actually better, especially with something like this. I'm not putting a huge pressure. I'm not writing like I'm not changing my skeleton right now, but just gently little things are creeping through, and then yeah. What about you? How are you feeling?
I feel good. Well, to touch on that as well, what I've been doing lately, or like in the last 2 days. So it's new, but I find it to be really helpful during this draft race where you're just kind of like getting the words out. But when I start thinking of something like, oh, I could do this in the first chapter to weave in that new subplot or whatever it is. I've just been going to the very top of my chapters and in a different color, like writing down a bunch of notes. And honestly, it's very freeing because it's like, okay, my brain, it's like I don't have to worry about forgetting it because she's already down. And so that I was like, yes, this is a breakthrough of like not feeling the pressure to like go back and really tweak things or fix things, but just like insert note, okay, we're in a pretty purple color. I will pay attention to this. And so, but then also what's been really fun is the in which they, which you can explain better, but it's been really cool. So what I've been doing is like, I'll write my chapter and then I'll go back and think like, what is this chapter about? And so I zero in that main beat, that main focus, and then I write at the very top of my chapter in which the thief gets caught by the bounty man or whatever it is. And so it's like, just, it helps me generalize like what's happening. So we are learning, Melanie, we are learning and growing. And so I feel good. But a lot of like what we talked about with Meg in this episode to come was really highlighting a lot of the stuff that I feel like I've been learning throughout my own process. And so yeah, like former pantser, still a pantser, but we're on that, we've plotted, we're still pantsing and exploring and having fun. But it's so freeing, I think, to kind of like have where you have like this basic structure. So you're not actually just like going everywhere. And that feels freeing to me of like, I've got these points I'm trying to get to. I can get to them however I want, but I know where my steps are.
Yes.
And so it just opens up a lot. And then, I think we touched on this too of reading different things or watching shows and being inspired by them. And so I've got to tell you, like Ravel by the Lysimia Smith really did give me this like, I want to do something, not like that, but I want that feeling that she gave in Ravel. And it's just like magic and, like a circus tent and all these things. And it just like exploded. And so thank you, Lysimia Smith, for giving me some magic. But I wanted to, also, I'm reading this book right now and I'm going to have to send it to you because Howl's Moving Castle, right?
Are you reading it now?
No, but it's those vibes. The book is giving me.
Gotcha.
Yes, and
Gotcha.
I know you're a Howl's Moving Castle gal.
Yes. Did you see me lean into the laptop?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, and so I got even more
Howl's Moving Castle, both the movie. Honestly, I think there's a few Ghibli movies that inspire me always. Like there's just some things that you read that just stay with you. And I think that like Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle, elements of that always inspire the worlds I write, I think, honestly.
Yes.
What's
vibes? Well, okay. So I have this flower heart.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful cover. I saw you post this one.
Yes.
It looks like anime and I'm obsessed already.
Yeah, by Catherine Bakewell. Like I picked it up, honestly, like I've been seeing this cover around on her posts. But then I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to get that. But you already have such a long TBR pile.
Yeah.
But then she said something nice to me one day and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna And so I bought the book and I was in Barnes and Noble and I like read half of it as I was sitting in the store. So this is right up your alley because it's that kind of vibe. So
Woo. Say no more. I mean, but I also have to draw back to the point, like that shit is real. Like to all the writers listening, like, it's true. If you're just like nice to people, they might buy your book. Living proof right here. It's kind of like the ideal, right?
Yes, it was literally like we're mutuals. She said one comment, and I was like, I'm buying her book.
Yeah, I'm like that too. It doesn't
Yeah.
take me much. I'm like, they liked my post. Follow.
Yes, we are best friends now. I have all of your merch.
Yes. I had an important question to ask you about our Discord. Now, I know that monkeys are a fearful animal of yours. Would you
Gosh.
say they're your most fearful animal? Because I was sitting here today, like, as you do, wondering important life questions. I was like, I wonder if monkey is the pinnacle of your animal fears, or is there something else? Because I'd like to know.
Mo- Apes, monkeys, they just, yeah, no, I can't. Like they're. See, I'm getting speechless just thinking about them. But
Really?
I feel like kangaroos are now up there as well. Those little
Kangaroos are,
bastards.
yeah,
They're bastards, dude. Like,
they
what
are.
were they saying? They hide
Yeah,
in pools of water to
I
drown.
believe it. I didn't even know that fact, but yeah, I Googled it. Apparently it's true. So if they feel threatened, they'll go into the water, and like if something comes after, they'll use their forepaws to hold it down and drown. But you know what? The thing is, like, people think kangaroos are all cute and whatever, but I'm like, I think they're thinking of wallabies. Wallabies are
Yeah.
small and fluffy and cute. But like, I'm not gonna lie to you, kangaroos have always scared me. And like, I don't know if you saw that in the Discord. I was saying, like, the college I went to when I was studying teaching, there was this old abandoned mental asylum that people would go to for like thrills, and it was creepy as fuck. But like,
Yeah.
honestly, the kangaroos scared me the most because there was
Are
hundreds
they
of
in the asylum? Were the
it,
kangaroos there?
it was on a big property, so
Oh no.
hundreds of kangaroos lived on this sprawling
Oh
abandoned mental
god.
institute. And
Oh
people would
god.
go, especially the Americans, love to go feed the kangaroos. So the Aussies would, because we had a lot of Americans come from, like, because it was dorms, so they'd come and stay in dorms and live there, and they'd take them there to feed the kangaroos because they want to see the kangaroos. But honestly, every time I went, the kangaroos would, like, some of them are big, like the size of a grown man, like, and they're muscly. The gray ones, they're like ripped.
Ew.
They
There's
would,
gray ones?
there's gray ones, and
Oh
they
god.
start to get like
That makes
grab.
it worse for some reason. I don't know why. Okay.
It does make it worse. I don't know why either. It's like a monster, cadaverous. They would get so used to people coming with bread, they would start being grabby hands and like snatching the bread off you. And I remember standing there and everyone was laughing, feeding the kangaroos. And I was like terrified. There was hundreds around us. They were grabbing bread. They like come up to you really close. I was just like, this is not for me. It's not for
No.
me.
Ew. And they have like hands. They have like
Yeah.
little hands.
They have little grabby
Yeah.
paws.
Anything that can like a hand, I can't do. Like I can't. It's so scary. I can't. Like my biggest fear, and luckily, we don't have monkeys just out prowling around in the States.
Oh.
But my biggest fear is like going somewhere and like a monkey like steals my purse.
You do not want to go to Bali, my friend.
No, that's my worst nightmare. Or like, because they're so strong and they're so fast and they're
I,
so smart.
I'll tell you a
It's
horror story now about a monkey. You just reminded me of Bali. So we went
oh,
to Bali like 11, 12 years ago, whatever, 11 years ago for our honeymoon. And actually, there's monkeys there everywhere. And they do, like, they take you to the shrines and stuff where there's hundreds of monkeys and you feed them, whatever. It's the same as the kangaroos. And one of them was like really like overly friendly, and it would like come on the tourist's shoulders and like whatever. And I have a photo, which maybe I'll share on the podcast if I can find it. Somewhere I have a photo of the exact moment I was taking a photo of my husband. The monkey reached down his shirt and grabbed his nipple. I have it on camera, the exact moment he went, and it grabbed his nipple. it's fucking hilarious, but also terrifying. Like,
That's assault. Like monkeys out here
assault.
assaulting people.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
They're also
I
really
don't.
perverted. Like they
Yes.
sit there and like pleasure
Yes.
themselves.
I have seen the videos. No, no. When I took my daughter to the zoo, like when she was little, and there was a monkey or an ape, whatever, and he was sitting there, and he was reading a magazine. Melanie, he
No.
was he was reading a magazine. He licked his finger and
No. No.
page, and I swear to God, he looked me in the eyes, Melanie. Yes, he took the page. And I haven't been the same since.
I can't. I can't. It's too smart. They're too
Yeah.
smart. And they're like wild. So with their smartness, they do like debauchery things.
Yes. Yes. I just can't. I can't do it.
The monkeys and kangaroos are the top of the list.
I'm gonna say those are the top right at the moment.
I know you hate clever birds as well.
I hate them so bad. Parrots, I hate them so much. Dude, they're so rude. The macaws, they're so rude. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I don't know. Tell
okay, yeah, just saying like the damn macaws. No, my grandparents in law had a macaw, and his name was Elliot, and they got him from a friend. You know what I mean? And he spoke mostly in Spanish, but he knew cuss words very well. And he hated my partner. He hated him. And one day I was like behind a fence, so like I was just like, I don't know what I was doing, maybe like pruning something or gardening. And I heard my partner walk by and he was like talking to the bird. And then he left and the bird said, "Fuck you." And I was like, this bird really hates this fucker. He really does. And like he's just and he's just a bastard. Rest in peace, Elliot the macaw. But
Yeah, it's scary.
yeah, bad bird.
I
Yeah.
recently learned that crows can learn to talk. Did you know that?
Melanie. Melanie.
And their voices are fucking
Melanie,
scary.
stop.
I'm gonna
Stop it right now.
later. I don't know why. It's just on my brain. I maybe like it's gotten to the point in our friendship where I can't help but torment you a little bit.
Melanie, a crow?
I've heard them speak, and they speak in like this kind of warbly, like exactly how you imagined they would sound. I'll send you videos later. It's
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I need you to see. I need you to see the talking crows because now that's probably your new worst fear.
I'm gonna say that could be up there. We rescued a cat and
Recently.
no, a while ago. And so one day I was like sitting and I was outside and I was just like minding my own business. And all of a sudden somebody said, "Hello."
No.
And I was by myself and I stopped and I was like, "Hello?" And then they said, "Hello." And it was the cat. And that's just how he like spoke was, "Hello."
Oh my God.
And I thought it was an intruder. And I was like, it's just Henry.
That's
But
terrifying.
yeah, I'm just any animals shouldn't talk. I apologize, listeners, but I just can't,
I kind of want to tell you one last horror story, but I may have already told you.
Let me hear it.
Early day. You just reminded me with the cat harrowing since we're down this rabbit hole. Because I grew up with a lot of animals like chooks and ducks and everything. And sometimes
Chooks to our American listeners, I think that means chicken, right?
Chickens. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you not call them chooks?
No.
Really?
Yeah, but I've just been going with it every time you say it because I'm like, okay, I think I know what she's talking about here.
Yeah,
Okay,
chickens.
you had chickens, you had chooks.
Well, sure, that's a universal term. Yeah, chooks. We grew up with heaps of them, and like the foxes would come and kill them sometimes. They'll jump no matter how tall the fence was, the fox would find a way in if they weren't locked. Anyway, one time the fox came and like killed a bunch of chooks. And I think my parents were away. So like my sisters are like not about any of that. So like I was always the one who had to deal with the animal shit. So I had to like bury this chook they'd murdered.
Oh, no.
And like I don't even know if it had a head. Anyway, no, it did have a head. It had to have had a head. So I'm burying this chook. Like, as you can imagine, I was like 13. It was scary. It was the first time I'd like handled something that big dead and like digging this hole and whatever. And it was like rainy and stormy. So I was feeling creeped out by it already. And my
Yes.
sisters had fucked off doing God knows what. They didn't give a shit that I was having to bury this demon bird by myself. Anyway, I was just trying to get it done as quickly as possible. I put it in like a fairly shallow grave and I buried it. And I pat the dirt down, and I am not joking you. Out of the dirt, I heard, "Whoa!" Air trapped in its thing. And when I pat down on the earth, the air came out.
Oh
I fucking ran. Later, I realized what it was, but like I was not about it. I was like, let the like dogs take the corpse. I can't.
Yes. My God, he was raising from the grave.
Right. It was a creepy chicken too. During its life, it wouldn't talk like it wouldn't like bok like normal chooks. It would like, we called it singing chook because it was like. Anyway, there's some trauma to unlock in therapy.
Yeah, ask your therapist what this means. Why are we so afraid of apes and chunks?
So anyway, I digress, but sometimes we have to ask these things.
The hard-hitting questions. Man. Yeah, I'm not a big I'm just I don't know. I love dogs, I love a dog. I love a goat, a sheep. They're dumb animals. We get along perfectly.
Gotcha.
Not dogs. Dogs are very smart, but they're very loyal. But I love a goat. I love a goat. He looks at me in the eye. There's nothing behind that. There's nothing going on in that brain.
Say, what is it you said I love goats 3 times? What is it that really draws you?
No, goats are really cute. Like the goats I have are so cute. They're just cute and dumb. And that's my MO. That's what I love. I love something cute and not very smart. That's a goat and a sheep.
Cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that journey for you. I think I like chickens for the same reason. They're really peaceful to watch.
Yeah.
So stupid.
So dumb. Oh, I see our time, but I was cackling because we have like fences up in our property and we have turkeys that just roam. They're just wild turkeys.
Really?
And this idiot, this dumbass Tom, he's a male turkey. He couldn't figure out how to move 2 feet to the right to get around the fence. He couldn't figure it out for the life of him. And so he just kept going back and forth for probably like an hour. And I laughed so hard. Maybe it was mean of me, but I was like, dude, you literally just go 2 feet to the right. You can go around. All of your siblings, your parents are already gone. Just go around. That gave me some joy.
I live for that. And like, I'm just going to say what everyone's thinking. This is why they're Christmas dinner. Because they're not the brightest bulbs in the bird box. Like,
okay, one more story before we go.
Yes.
So when my partner like has grown up on ranches. Like that's his whole thing. Like, he just loves farm life.
That's cool.
Me, no. I have not. It's a city girl.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not like city, but then suburban. I was all over the place. but not a country girl. So when we first moved in, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my own chickens. I'm gonna have some big hens, some big girls, lay some good eggs. So I went to the farm supply store, and I was like, oh, I'll take, because they had little chicks in the big thing, and I was like, oh, I'll take, like 4 of those, 2 of those, a couple of those, and the guy looked at me funny, but he didn't say anything, and so he just like packed up all these birds, these chickens. And so I get home and I'm like, got them all. And yeah, there was a few that were much bigger than the rest. But I thought, hey, they're just some bigger chicks, right?
Oh, my days.
And my father-in-law comes home or comes to our house and he's like, why'd you get turkeys?
Oh my goodness. Is that where the wild turkeys came from?
No, they're just natural here. But I got like the big turkeys, that apparently people will slaughter and eat, because the wild ones here, you could probably kill them and eat them, but they're not as good, right? They're gamey. So I accidentally brought turkeys.
What did you do? Did you just raise them?
We raised them, and then I found out that they're actually very kind of loyal to certain, there was a female turkey and she loved my partner and she would lay eggs by his shoes once. And so they're big eggs, and she left him a little treat.
Can I just say, I need the book version of this. I did not realize you grew up kind of like suburban city girl and country life was new to you.
Yes.
I need you to write a book about kind of sweet, bumbling city girl learning country life and the turkeys laying eggs by her shoes.
Hey, it could happen. It could happen. Actually, it's kind of a cute idea.
It's so cute. That could be your spicy book. It sounds like it could easily be like a steamy rom-com situation.
Yes, I love
I love it. Story time on the podcast today. You've been blessed with our turkeys, our dead singing chickens, me giving a rendition of a singing chicken.
Time. It was a great time. And I think we're just extra bubbly because we did have such an amazing guest on. And so it always puts us in such a good mood when we have these amazing guests that really just take us to Writer Church. And so that's who we had today in Meg Eden, who was one of our fellow Pitch Wars 2020 classmates. So it was amazing to have her on.
Yeah, you're so right. It is because of that. Her energy is so good. And you just talk to someone like that, it does lift your spirits and put you in a goofy, happy mood, And yeah, it's our Magic of Pitch Wars 2020 class. And we should probably read Meg's bio before our time runs out. We have gobbled up our time. See what I did there? Gobble, gobble.
He's good.
Gobbled up our time with our farmyard stories, but hopefully our listeners at this point know that this is some of the varied content they get when tuning in to Of the Publishing Persuasion. So did you want to do the bio or do you want me to do it?
Sure. I'll do it. It's fine. Mic check. All right, here we go. Meg Eden is a 2020 Pitch Wars mentee and teaches creative writing at Anne Arundel Community College. She is the author of the 2021 Towson Prize for Literature winning poetry collection, Drowning in the Floating World, Press 53, 2020, and children's novels, most recently Good Different by Scholastic 2023. Find her online at megedenbooks.com or on Twitter at Confused Narwhal.
Good work.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
I've lost it now. The humor of what we were talking about for the last 20 minutes caught up to me. But yes, good job. Sorry for putting you off that bio. That was all my bad.
No.
Just like,
I was like, did I read it wrong? What did I do?
I'm just, my brain is like a child. I'm stuck back at the turkey laying eggs by your partner's feet. It just makes me happy. I don't know why. And I just, this image of you going into the shop like, tra la 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 la, I'm gonna be a good farm girl and get some chickens, and then you bought fucking turkeys.
I did. I went in there so confidently.
I love it so much. But like, yes, thank you to Meg, who uplifted our spirits and brought the joy and all the wisdom today. I can't wait to share this episode. I think it's one of our best, and I'm like just honored to have somebody on like that, you know? I shouldn't have gone to get coffee because now I'm all sweaty. Hi.
Hey,
Hey, Meg, welcome.
thank you so much for having me. It's so cool and to see like both of you live, because I feel like our interactions have been through Discord or Slack and stuff. So this is like really cool and surreal.
It's awesome. It's always fun to like actually chat on Zoom for the first time. It's always one of those things where like, oh wait, we are humans. We're real.
Right.
That's so true. It is a bit like that when like your network is very social media based. Like sometimes I feel like when I leave the phone at home, I'm just like, my whole community is on this one screen in Rider Land.
That's so true. I have like one friend outside of the internet. But hey, it's all I need. I just need the one.
But Zoom helps. It does make it feel more real, more tangible. And yeah, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, okay, first, I'm seeing behind you a really cool board with sticky notes, and I can concentrate on nothing else. Can you, I'm sorry to be nosy, but what is that?
No. I'm laughing because I feel like half of the Zoom things I do with writers are like, what is that board? So yes. I'm just laughing for that reason. So it's like my possibilities board. So concepts that interest me for future projects. I'll put them up there, ideas that excite me, memories that excite me. And so I'll periodically visit that when I'm trying to come up with new pitches and things like that. And I'll write new ones as I think of them. Sometimes I haven't updated it in a while. And so it's interesting if I get the same idea multiple times, and I have a stack of that same thing, then I go, okay, this is really something that's exciting me. This is really something I should write about.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I've just fallen in love with you, Meg.
Oh, thank you.
What a beautiful way to do it as well. Like my version of that is like typing up a incoherent draft and saving it under a idea for later or whatever.
Oh, I do that too.
It's such a beautiful way to like, I don't know, celebrate your creativity as well. Like, I love it. It's like art.
It reminds me that I have ideas, because I constantly am feeling like, will I ever write or publish another book again? And then I go like, oh, look, there are still things to write about. There are still things that excite me. So.
Oh, I love it. Well, it looks like there's quite a few things that excite you, because I'm seeing a few notes there, which is amazing.
Well, some of them are really specific. Some of them are really vague, just things that I jot down. Because there was a webinar I did where somebody, like an agent or editor, gave this exercise of give yourself 10 minutes and write down every possible book pitch idea you can. And I thought that was really cool. So I've started trying to do that sort of thing. And I'll do it sometimes to see what patterns there are too, if I'm writing variants of the same idea, things like that. So from that, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to, have things that I can mix and match into pitches and things like that. So
genius.
I think it's something actually important. I've heard that come up like from a few writers, like the fear that this is their like one last work, whatever they've pitched, or like they're not going to have any more ideas. And like, I always feel like that is the lie your brain is telling you, because I mean, if you just look out the window at it, that activity you did, it's like living proof of like, you can draw an idea from almost anything. and like new experiences, new movies, new books can ignite a whole array of new ideas. And so I don't buy into that like you've got one. That is a lie, people. That is a lie your brain tells you. It is false.
But I think it's just so easy to fall into that lie. You're absolutely right that it's a lie, but I don't know, especially when you see on social media and there's like people that they're like, oh, I just sold like 3 books today or whatever. And you just go like, what? Will that ever happen? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's so true. No, social media can be one of those like killers of joy where you're like, oh, maybe I'm not doing enough, but you doing whatever works for you is enough. And it's something I have to keep, knocking into my brain all the time, because yeah, you see all these deals and I'm like, wait a minute, how are you moving so fast? How are you doing this? And our brains all work so differently. So it's a beautiful thing to be a creative and, always remind ourselves to keep our eyes on our own page.
Yes.
We all work so differently. But speaking of that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your backstory? Did you always want to be a writer?
Oh, okay. So when I was in middle school and high school, middle school, my mom had to pay me to read. I didn't like books. I did not like writing. But I started falling in love with writing at like the end of middle school, and I started falling in love with books around that time as well. I used to want to be an artist. I wanted to be a mangaka or a cartoonist or something like that and tell stories that way. And then I had a teacher, that encouraged me as a writer. And I think that was a big turning point of somebody listening to something I said, somebody telling me that I was good at this thing. And I realized I could tell stories through words, and that just I could do that much quicker than mass respect to cartoonists, graphic novelists, mangakas, because that's just so much work.
What's I know manga. What's the word you're saying afterwards? Mangakas?
Yeah, so that's like, if I remember and understand right, that's the person that makes the manga.
It's like the Japanese title, mangaka.
Yes.
そうですね。わかりました。
ねえねえねえ。
日本語わかりました。
少し。
かっこいいな。
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Right now, but you guys stole the words right out of my mouth. I
just had a little geek out moment on the 2 Japanese words we know. Basically, in summary.
I want to get back into it. I used to.
Me too.
Well, I've never been good. My husband was very, very good. He lived there for several years growing up, so he was the kind of person like I could watch anime without subs and like mostly understand what's happening, and I'm just like, oh, sugoi.
I mean, that's what we all want. I have to tell you now that we're on the topic of Japan. I'm a bit of a Japanophile. My husband and I lived in a van there for 6 months, just like traveling around. And that was like, I wish I was so much better at the language then. It would have opened so many doors. But yeah, it's always a language that speaks to my heart and always come back to it. But it kind of I was studying it in uni for a year, but it got to the point where I was like, it has to be writing or Japanese. My brain couldn't hold that level of like that you need to turn into fluent without living there. If you're living there, I think your brain catches on and it forces it. But yeah. Anyway, random segue, but yes.
I'm with you. I had the same pull and struggle because it just takes so much investment. And now that writing is just becoming more and more serious, it's like, it feels like that takes the mass. Like if my brain's a computer, it's like that takes like 90% of the RAM. And it's like, there's not really room for, but just as much as there's lots of things I love, just Japanese. And it's, I remember trying to take, the next like 300 level course while working full time, and it just was like, okay, this is not happening. Like
the kanji were the end of me in the end. I could only hold so many in my head while I was like, trying to write a book. One day we'll get there. We'll get there.
You guys might need to collab on something, a special project.
Love that.
We'll need to make it happen.
That too.
Did you ever think of like going back and doing some sort of graphic novel or a project where you combine the artistry with the craft of writing?
I hadn't. I'm trying to remember. I think I got really salty in high school about art because my art teacher was like, "You're good, but you didn't take the right credits, so you can't do AP art with your friends." And I just got really salty about that in a really petty sort of way. And I think I was just like, screw that, I'm just going to be a writer. And so it's like, I just doodle now. So, now that you said that, I'm realizing how petty it is. Like the reason I stopped doing art. So like maybe, and also there was like a freshman that came in and it just, her art was like photorealistic and perfect. And I was just like, I can never do that. Like we're done. So maybe one day. And there's cool things happening with graphic novels. I know Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes just got like a graphic novel adaptation, and it's a novel in verse, and that's super cool. And I was just talking to somebody who was saying they were doing a novel in verse graphic novel, and so I'm like, cool things are happening. So I would never write anything off, you know.
There you go. I'm feeling it. I sense it in the future. Something's gonna happen.
Yes. But I think that petty side, it probably comes from, because I think I have that too. But it's just like, I think the merging of art and business is always going to feel like that, because like the art is what we came here for, right? Like, and then someone tells you you're good at this, like you could do this. And then you're like, shit, I could do it. So you do it.
Yeah.
But then the actual merging of like staying in love with the art and doing it as a living, yeah, like it does give you the, like, there's some petty moments that happen in my soul. I mean, that's the truth, but like we move on and we do it for the love.
Well, and I think that's the real test for me, is like, what things have I just pettily, like, because this stuff's hard, right? So if I'm going to let the petty things stop me, then it's like, it just stops. But when I've persisted, like writing, there's just been so much that's happened. Like I got my first agent, 12, 13 years ago. And now I'm getting my first like big publisher deal. I published with small presses beforehand. But so it's like, I don't know, that I was stubborn enough to stick with this when other things I was like, or like when I tried to program and then I tried to change the variables and it didn't work. And I went, I don't have the patience for this. But like, for some reason I've been stubborn with writing. So it's just, yeah, it's weird.
Isn't that interesting though? I wonder what it is that does make us so stubborn with this field in particular, because there are so many no's, and really harsh ones.
Yeah.
Ones that make you just want to sob in a corner for months on end. But like there is something there that really does make us so stubborn. And I think maybe that's the difference between somebody who just writes and somebody who wants to be published or gets published, is that stubborn gene. I don't know what it is. What do you guys think? What can you guys? You guys are smarter than me. Tell me something. What is it?
No, you are bringing the holy grail of like wisdom. I'm just like grinning like an idiot over here because I just vibe that so much. I think that's it. That like stubborn gene. And maybe it's just like, I don't know, like I saw this quote by Neil Gaiman the other day. I think Devona put it in her stories. It's like, you gotta have that like arrogant confidence of like a 7-year-old boy that's like, I can do anything. But then like that humbleness of like, no, you gotta still learn a lot. Like, but that stubbornness is what carries you through all of it.
Yes. Yeah. For me, I think it's that people told me I couldn't do it as a career. It's like, oh, and I think there's wisdom to that because there's so much out of your control of having a writing career or not. But hearing somebody say, oh, you can't do that for a career, I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong just to be stubborn. So yeah, but I love what you just said about the balance of the confidence and the stubbornness, because or the confidence and the humility. Like you do need both, because you won't persist if you don't feel like this is possible, but you won't grow and actually succeed unless there's some level of humility of being able to learn and be adaptable to what you're being told.
I mean, credit to Neil Gaiman. I can't take credit for that one.
I'm listening to his masterclass right now, and I mean, I could just listen to it on repeat probably for a lifetime. For one, his voice is perfection, and then he's so wise. His voice is great. I'm not gonna lie, the voice is good, but it's really good. But he's so wise and humble, and so it's that mixture of the two of like, yes, I know my shit. But I don't know everything, and I'm still learning. And I think that's probably what makes maybe a great writer, is somebody that's just constantly learning, but is confident enough to put their shit out there, because my gosh, you know, how else are you going to do it? But I want to go back because we all met through Pitch Wars. Rest in peace, Pitch Wars. But I know you had works already published right before Pitch Wars. So
Yes.
what made you want to do a mentorship even after having works published?
So this is such a great question. I was really thinking about this because it's like a messy answer. So I have, before Pitch Wars, I had 2 books published with small presses. And, you know, I'd applied to Pitch Wars at times, and maybe got nice feedback, but nothing happened. And I'd gotten agents, and, you know, I was like, I don't really need Pitch Wars. But then in 2019, my second agent dumped me, and I was a complete wreck. I was like I was a super wreck. I was like in the doctor's office, like waiting room kind of thing. And people would be like, how are you? And I'll be like, my agent dumped me. Like, to anyone that listened to me, it was awful. And so I was just, and I thought, you know, I'm going to send my work out there again, go in the query trenches. I'm going to find someone new. And it was crickets. So by the time Pitch Wars 2020 submission time, because I guess were we considered 2020? The numbering was confusing.
I know. We were 2020, but we ended in 2021.
Right. Okay. Which is counterintuitive. Right. So yeah, about that point, I was kind of feeling like Anne of Green Gables' depths of despair. It was like I was getting crickets from a year of waiting in query trenches after getting dumped by agent number 2. Nothing was happening. And I just was like, is this writing thing just like not going to happen? Is this just like the sign that this needs to stop? And so applying for Pitch Wars, I felt kind of guilty of like, well, do I count? Like, I mean, I've had representation. I've had small press books. I don't know if I count. I looked at the mentors, and so many of them were like, no novels in verse. So I was like, oh, you know, this is probably a crapshoot. I won't spend too much time on this. I'll just kind of send to a couple people. And then I don't know if I told you guys this, but the Eric, my mentor, was not one of the 3 I selected on the application. What happened was one of the people I applied to loved my thing, but doesn't really do novels in verse. So she posted to the whole group and was like, this person needs a mentor, but like, I can't really be it. Would somebody do this? So Eric actually reached out through Pitch Wars if I would let him consider me. So anyway, it was a very bizarre thing. And I was like, nobody's going to select me. Like, nobody wants this thing. Like, my writing career is not happening. But then Eric found me and believed in this book. And so the parable from this, like I learned, was I had no control really over this. And it never hurts to send stuff out. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Even if you think you've like, you don't count, you don't qualify or whatever, like we all always need help. And I was at a point where I really, really needed help. And I don't know where I'd be without Eric having picked this book and believed in this book and loved this book. So never like turn down opportunities. Always send stuff out, always see what happens. You might get something really weird and surprising like I did. So
you made me tear up. That was so beautiful, and my soul needed to hear it today. And I just think you're so right. Like, people say that all the time, but the truth of it doesn't fall on you until you like experience it. You only need one yes. And every connection you make, everything you send out. I also, going into that year of Pitch Wars, I'd actually submitted that manuscript before. And even though it didn't go anywhere with that competition, it brought me into so many spaces I could have never expected, and like changed my life as well, you know. And I almost didn't submit either. I was like, can I even submit it? It's already been submitted. Like, you know, there's so many reasons you tell yourself you shouldn't do this, but I agree that you have nothing to lose really by submitting to all the things, and as you go, you can weigh up, is it the right path for you? You know, like the yeses you get, you don't have to say yes to all of them either. Sometimes you know, you put out all these feelers into the universe and something comes back and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel good.
Right.
I know, like sometimes you say no to certain yeses, and yeah, I seriously, like, you are the light this week, that the sunshine I needed. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Well, and it goes back to the point that we were talking about earlier about always learning too, because I think there was a level that I had to kind of admit I still need to start over, and like that's okay. Like just because I've taught writing, just because I've published stuff doesn't mean like I don't still need help. Like I still needed a mentor. And so I think that really reminded me to try to keep growing in a spirit of humility, of just like ask for help. Like it's okay.
Oh, that's so amazing. What was your querying process like after Pitch Wars, after the showcase?
Oh, it was like night and day. I'd queried the same manuscript before Pitch Wars, and there were a couple people potentially interested, and then it was just everything happened like that afterwards. I got a lot of interest in the showcase. I got like 8 offers of representation. I signed with Lauren, who is incredible. We like edited immediately, sent out immediately. Emily bought it very, very quickly. Yeah, so I have to say that with a huge asterisk, that's so not normal. I have queried many, many times. That was never my experience. This was the magic of Pitch Wars that I'm so sad it's gone. But mad props to Brenda for just doing this for as long as she did, because it was just so much work. I can't fathom the amount of work of running something like this, but it changed my life. Like I don't think I would have had the same opportunities without Pitch Wars.
I had chills just listening to you. And I mean, obviously, kudos to Pitch Wars and to our mentors and all that, the buzz around it and the energy and the community was so beautiful. But you deserved that quick turnaround of the query, the submission, the deal, because you have been putting in the work. And that's one thing Melanie and I always talk about, why we love doing this and like asking authors their stories, because we always see like, so often people are just introduced to you right after the deal. So they're like, wow, okay, here's this person, boom, bam, boom, they're a star. But you don't realize all the shit that they have been shoveling for years. And so you've been putting in the work, and look what came from it. You had all this buzz around this beautiful book. And so, so bravo, congratulations. You have earned this.
Oh, thank you. It's very encouraging, and it's so encouraging hearing. I mean, it's coming out in a few weeks, and just already there's so much encouragement and things on Goodreads that make me feel like, oh, I'm just so happy that this is happening. Yeah.
Angela took the words out of my mouth. I think like it's a natural instinct to like try like diminish when you have a success for the people who haven't experienced that. But you shouldn't, because you worked fucking hard. And I agree. You should have got all the requests, I don't think it's ever too much. And we all work hard in this. So I think it was just the right way for it to happen after your suffering in the waiting room. I don't know if you can tell us what was with the first agent, because you mentioned the second one.
Yes. So I'll just give you kind of the truncated life story. So I got my first agent as a high schooler. That's how stubborn I was about this. I wrote a book in high school, sent it out, somehow got an agent. She is incredible. I would still recommend her. She did the best she could for this book. I think she was probably not the right fit for this book. Ironically, because the comments we got was that it was a YA and it was on the edge of YA and middle grade. And so I've probably been told for about the past 12 years I should write middle grade, and I've been stubborn enough to like avoid that feedback. Anyway, so nothing happened for a long time. I was hanging on to that relationship. She seemed less engaged. Even my students were like, you need to dump her. Like, this isn't working. So eventually I cut the ties, especially when I got my own deal for my debut YA with a small press. And I was like, my agent didn't do that. I don't want my agent to get a cut of something I did. Not necessarily would recommend that. I think it's good to have an advocate as an agent. It's the decision I made at the time. I think small press was perfect for that book. That's the disclaimer. Anyway, but then later when I was in my debut group with a small press, I was like Pip in Great Expectations, seeing everyone post like, here's my book in an airport. Here's my book on the New York Times bestsellers for the 100th week in a row. Wow, shock. And I was like, I wonder if I got an agent again, if like what's possible. So eventually I found a second agent. She was just not a right fit for the project. And this was weird. So we would talk on the phone and we both sound like we were vibing. she was like, I really want to push the edits. I want to push it to be complicated. And I was like, yes, I want that too. Then I would do all this work, do the edits, and she would be like, this is not what I was asking. And she clearly did not get my character. I actually just wrote an article in Writer's Digest about how she was basically like, yeah, could your character not be autistic? Because that would make her more vulnerable. And it was an abuse relationship thing. And I was like, her autism is what makes her strong. Like, I don't get this. Like, how does that make her vulnerable? Like, I literally could not understand. And so we clearly just were not being eye to eye. And she may be a great agent for someone else, but like, it was just not the right fit. And also, she's British, so she was like really polite about it. And like, I think she was like trying to break off the relationship way earlier. Like, maybe this isn't working. I'd be like, no, I'm willing to do the work. So it was just two ships passing, like it just didn't work. No hard feelings to her. It just but yeah, so it's so important to find that right fit. I am the living testament of that. And I've gotten other offers through the years that I'd have the phone call and then just go, this is not gonna work just from the phone call. So if you're in the query trenches, like, please be picky, even if it's so hard. You hear something and like, I always just was like, I just want someone, anyone. But as somebody that has like dream agent now, it is so worth it to be picky. You deserve it. Your work deserves it. It's just going to help you in the long run.
Meg, again, you're just so wise.
I feel bad. I feel like I rambled there. That was just trying to I could make my messy relationship history.
Give it to us all. I think we all need to hear this. You know, it's perfect. Ramble away, damn it. It's so good.
You are my favorite kind of guest.
Good.
Come on, and like, I feel like we have known each other our whole lives and the conversation runs seamlessly. So don't ever hold back your antiness. We're here for it. We are anti-queens.
Excellent.
So we live for it.
Yeah. Well,
I love
want to hear about your book, Good Different. I am so freaking excited. Can you tell us all about, rant away about Good Different?
Okay, I will try. So Good Different is a middle grade novel in verse about an autistic girl who wishes she was powerful like a dragon, but learns to find her power through advocating for herself through poems. So yeah, that's kind of like the short pitch. But it's about my autism journey. You know, I didn't know I was autistic till I considered in college. And I got diagnosed while writing this book. So it's kind of me trying to figure out and process how difficult it is to exist and why is that so hard. And this book came out of that experience. So yeah.
Wow. I've got chills again because I love books like this. You know, it's like books where the author themselves are exploring what's going on in their own lives and you know, just breathing that into the story. And in a middle grade novel, I think is just, we can't get enough of those, you know, it's just so valuable and important. So thanks for doing the work and writing this.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I want to keep doing it. I hope that people will keep buying my book so I can keep doing it.
And I'm also convinced like the trauma we experience in our younger years trying to like make sense of life in general makes for the best books as well. Like, yeah, it's definitely, you know, I've started a new round of therapy recently and learning all these things about myself that I did not know. But yes. It's going into my books. Of course it's going into my books.
Yeah, and it's so healing to write about it and to dig into it. I'm finding that I resisted middle grade for so long. Like, I love YA still too, but middle grade particularly, like you're saying, there's that trauma underneath that we often don't really even, like, we have no idea until we go to therapy or something happens. We go, whoa, where did that come from? But it's so restorative, I feel like, unearthing that and trying to name it and claim it. So yeah, I love it.
And I feel like even without therapy, like pre-therapy, like writing was that. It was a way that I was processing what I didn't maybe know was trauma, or that maybe I wasn't aware how deeply it had affected me. I think writing is just magic like that. It's something very healing to the soul.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is your writing style? Are you a pantser, a plotter, somewhere in between?
So I've always identified as a pantser, and I still have the spirit of a pantser, but I have an agent that, you know, wants me to not spend 2 years on a draft to tell me this is not sellable. So I really like her process, and it's really pushing me. When I have an idea she wants, like an elevator pitch or even, a blurb pitch, if she's like, that sounds viable, then she'll be like, give me some initial pages and a synopsis. So it's really pushing me to be a little bit more of a plotter. Save the Cat Writes a Novel has saved my life. I really try and think about those beats once I have kind of a big picture idea. And that's been really helpful, because then, Lauren can tell me if it's viable or not. Two, maybe she has suggestions, so I don't have to go through wandering for a super long time. Be like, what is this thing? And she's just given really great advice. So I feel like we're really in sync with what she gets what I'm trying to do, and she just helps me do it. So yeah, so now I'm a plantser, I guess.
Plants alive. I'm all about that plants alive. Like as soon as I like get on my high horse of plotting and I get too plotty, I just fall to pieces. So I can't do that either. Like I just stop enjoying. That's what I like tried really hard, because I felt like that was the right way at one point, like plotting it out seamlessly, and then you'd have these twists and stuff. But every time I've tried to like lock down that plot of life, it like destroyed my joy for writing. So I feel like plants is the perfect medium. I tend to just like do a skeleton and then kind of free write it with a messy document with all my rambly ideas. And then you can go as you go. And when you reach a point where you're like, what the hell am I writing now? You do another skeleton and try iron it out.
And I particularly love that about novels in verse, because I think in those little scenes, and I did this as a fiction writer too, I'm like, what if this scene happens? And so I can kind of go down a trail and experiment with a potential skeleton. And then, like, I'm doing that with a draft right now, and I'm kind of going, okay, this is a dead end. Well, what if we went in this direction? And the poems make it feel less like I just drafted all this prose and it didn't go anywhere. Like the poems are much more flexible. So I'm really loving that.
I'm here for. I'm learning. I'm taking notes, and I'm here for it. What would you say has been like the most rewarding part of your journey so far?
So I sent out ARCs to some educators, and one of them Instagram posted me that a student read my book and for their class for haikus wrote a haiku that was basically like, even though she's in a book and I'm in real life, we're one and the same. So like she resonated so much with my character that she wrote that. And I just was like, okay, that's why we do this, Yes.
Oh, I got chills again, because it's so special. It's so sweet.
The thing, like as long as there's like one person who's like moved by your work, I mean, it's going to be way more, but I just mean it is those little moments where you're just like, somebody saw themselves in what you wrote. And I think it just takes us back to like, when we read and we see ourselves in books, and like it just kind of gives you courage to like be and grow and do this humanity thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We're all just trying to survive, and books can help us survive and feel like we're not alone with that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Being a human is hard,
Yes.
Books help. Books help. Damn it. We need books.
It's true. I thank you for verbalizing that. It is hard being a human. And we do books and joy and seeing ourselves. So yeah, I love that so much. This is like the best chats. The best chats with the crew always happens.
Is there anything that scares you about being an author?
So maybe a lot of people say this, but there is that sense of responsibility, that kids are reading this, adults are reading books, inform, they influence you, you carry those in you. And so I do feel a sense of responsibility that, what I'm doing is, informing people potentially, and informing kids. And so I want to take that really seriously. What am I sharing? What am I encouraging? How, like, what kind of messages am I clarifying so it does make me really think about what I'm doing on the page, and that's a little scary, but it's also really cool. So I don't know.
Well, and I love that you don't take it lightly. That you acknowledge that, and I think just acknowledging it and understanding is above and beyond what many probably would even do. So, good job again. Once again, I feel like I keep saying like, good job, well done, but I mean it every time.
Yeah. Is there something like looking back that you wish you could tell a younger version of yourself?
I think it's something I'm still trying to tell myself, of extending grace to myself and kindness to myself, because I'm always somebody that nothing is enough. It's always like the next thing. And, even right now, people are like, aren't you so happy and excited about your launch and your book? And I'm like, no, I am waiting to hear if they're buying the next one. And I'm trying to write the next one. And then after that, well, if something sells, then I'm just going to have a sigh of relief and then try and sell the next one. So there's there has to be kindness to oneself. If somebody else told me that, I'd go, oh my gosh, like, you are a human worthy of love, whether you're producing or not. But it's so easy for us to be hard on ourselves. And I know young me was even harder on herself than, when I got that agent in high school, I went, oh, I'm going to have this career. College will be optional. I'm going to be a famous writer. Like all these stupid, lofty, ridiculous, unrealistic expectations. And then blamed myself when that didn't happen. Right. So yeah, kindness and grace. That's the thing.
Beautiful. Again, it's funny. I have a tattoo, and it's just 2 words. It says more grace.
Oh,
and,
I love that.
and it's just like a constant reminder, that very thing. I got it when I was 18. It's a little blurred now. So you might not be able to read what it says at this point, but I know it's there. And it's a great reminder. It really is, because it's one of those things, like you said, to your friends, you would be like, girl, celebrate this, enjoy it, you've earned this, right? But to ourselves, we're like, no, on to the next thing. So it's true. I love that advice wholeheartedly. Do you have a favorite quote that you live by?
From that I live by.
Or just in general, just a favorite in general. No pressure. You don't have to live by it. Whatever.
Okay. I thought it was from the book, so I was like ready to give a quote from the book, and I was like, oh, okay.
Give us a favorite quote from the book, please.
Okay. I feel embarrassed. I totally misunderstood that. That's on me.
No, please.
So I'll read one of my favorite quotes. Pop said, "We're in a world not built for us, a neurotypical world. People like us are dragons with clipped wings, but like Toothless with his prosthetic tail fin, we still find so many ways to fly." And I love that, because that came from my editor. Like, that wouldn't have happened if my editor hadn't pushed edits. So I'm just really happy about that.
That's beautiful.
It's relatable. We all need those prosthetic fins sometimes.
Yes, and I think it's so comforting having this conversation and being like, oh, other humans struggle too, because I think it's so easy, especially in our social media time, of just putting up like only the happy pictures. Like, we're all human, we're all struggling, we all need help, and it's not just me, so I shouldn't feel hard on myself when I need help. So I love that we're having this conversation. This is great.
Yeah. I do too, and I know Melanie's over there just like, she's just like puddling. I can see her.
I am. I really am, because that's like, you took the words out of my mouth. I love that we're having these conversations, especially because I think like the pressure to project the mask of positivity to sell yourself constantly is so heavy. And I feel like now, and that's part of us too. But I feel like now my sole mission in life is just to gather all the people who are just fucking trying their hardest and be like, I see what's behind the mask. I see how fucking hard you grind. I see your tears. I see your pain. And I see how you still turn it into beauty and positivity. And that's like, I've just realized lately that those are the people I want to gather close and like hold them and be like, you're all right. You're safe with me. You don't have to be happy all the time. We can share everything, and then make dumb reels together.
And Meg, you are one of those people. You are one of those beautiful souls. I see our time is gone.
Cut out.
So I just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for being on here with us and sharing your journey and your beautiful soul and your light. And we are so excited.